So basically, we're going to count how many times we say the N word in this video, I guess, but we're not going to use the hard R at the end like Twitch said we're allowed to. We can use the nigga term, so let's do it.
Away from the door, nigga, nigga. And I was just, nigga, please. Nigga, I use nigga, I use nigga, I use nigga, 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 nigga.
N-word.
N-word.
The N-word.
N-word.
N-word. N-word. N-word.
Nigga, nigga, nigga this, nigga, nigga, nigga this, nigga, nigga, nigga this, nigga.
The N-word.
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 N-word. N-word. N-word.
Nigga, 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 nigga. Can you lend a nigga a pencil? When I repeated the same
Word.
nigga, and I was just nigga, nigga, nigga. You know, then I repeated the same
Word.
nigga, 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 nigga.
All right. So this is Gray Fox 37.
Pikachu 23.
That was the
I think I
first-
lost count after 10.
So Pikachu's never heard of that remix before. But this is from a teacher about like over 10 years ago that basically was speaking in front of a black reporter, mind you, about using the difference between the ER and the A at the end and everything like that. And it's funny that this video's still up considering how many pussies there are out there nowadays on social media. So before we begin our wonderful Diablo 2 Media in Excel playthrough, which we're doing on the desktop, since I don't want to. You see, what happens is if you install Media in Excel, it overrides the original Diablo 2 game, as far as I can tell, and I want to keep it on my laptop so I can play with the boys there. But we're going to do Media in Excel and test it tonight blind after this. But there was a lot on my mind today that I wanted to talk about with Pikachu and have her chime in at points and whatnot. It's more than just the N-word and everything like that. It's basically, I mean, there's been so many videos about cancel culture out there that, you know, it's pretty much been said and done with it. Now, the irony behind it, though, is I love there's just little things that I basically kind of picked up on tonight and basically through my thought process during work today. Of course, everybody knows about what happened with Gina Carano and everything of that nature. And you know, if you read her posts, there really wasn't anything bad out of it. I mean, it's pretty much anything that Trump says. You know, a lot of times he was just full of himself with his, you know, jerking off with his ego and everything. But you know, you look at it, it's like, look, if you don't like what somebody has to say, the common intelligent thing to do is to just ignore it and basically just block the individual. But now that we're in this Trump, you know, like this, like, I don't want to say trumped up, but this coked up society now, you know, just to mildly put it, now that we're just in this like PC, you know, coked up, just fragile pussy snowflake society, basically everything that you say and do has to be moderated. Everything that you say has to be watched. And it wasn't too long ago that so many people were against things like George Bush's Patriot Act. It's like, I don't want anybody spying on it, like the film Enemy of the State in the late 90s. Oh, I don't want people spying on me and whatnot. But now all of a sudden it's okay. Oh, it's because of these dangerous insurgents from January 6th. It's all because of these people just saying horrific things on social media and whatnot. There wasn't social media back when Bush had the Patriot Act going on and whatnot. There were still forums. There were still computer forums for like games, fetishes, you name it, and everything. There were still forums out there, which is still a form of social media, you know, but no, we didn't have like Twitter or, you know, anything. Well, MySpace was like one of the first major, you know, private platforms to take shape. But basically it's just so, I guess it's just so funny how a lot of these insensitivities that society has suddenly taken to slur words like nigga or like, you know, faggot or something like that, you know, it's so funny how it's just slowly started to come about. And back then you'd catch a laugh out of it if you were, I mean, it's what we call shock humor. So like back then you'd get like a kick or a laugh out of it if you're into that sort of thing. Or, you know, some of it I find childish. Other parts of it, it's like, it's kind of like Norm Macdonald, for example. Norm Macdonald used a lot of shock humor. Like I remember one time there were these people who were getting into this heated argument on Conan O'Brien, and I just love how he just randomly goes, "Hey, any of you guys ever thrown a prostitute off a bridge?"
Yeah.
Which actually had gotten me banned for a week for typing that in Facebook. Facebook's algorithm actually warned me ahead of time, saying, "Oh, you shouldn't say that because that could get you banned." And then it got like 3 days later, it got me banned for a week. And I'm just sitting here like, see, this is what's going on. These sissies are programming these phrases and words into their algorithm to just basically take absolute control. So it's not, nowadays it's not even a person that's even banning you. It's this stupid computer. Like I just got a 30-day ban for saying a stupid prank call line. Basically, there's this, look up the elevator guy, like look up the elevator guy pranks, and there's a line he says where he's like, he's like, "I'm in the elevator" and stuff, and there's a line he says like, "Get that fucking slut back on the phone." And all I was doing in my prank call Facebook board was just quoting a line with somebody. We weren't arguing with each other. We weren't angry at each other. We were throwing prank call lines back and forth. I got banned 30 fucking days for that. For just joking. I wasn't even being usually I troll and I talk a lot of shit on Facebook, but see what I mean? This is why these platforms are so ridiculous. They are so, like, even the algorithm is just a pussy too. They are so insensitive to even have joking around with shock humor or toilet humor or sexist humor or, even stereotypical humor. All these moderators are just these big fat gaping vaginas that are just sitting back, literally shaking, I'm going to use that term, and whenever they see something they don't like, they're going to program it into the algorithm for future use to come at you. "Oh, but that's just a conspiracy theory." Nope. I've been banned for saying things that weren't even threats.
We have proof of this, guys.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I mean, I've been banned for so many things. I mean, I'm on 13 bans on Facebook just because I would say like facts about certain things, or just if I disagreed with somebody. I've even been banned for 30 days for calling somebody just a flat out idiot. But yet, I've seen people call me an idiot and never been banned. So maybe the algorithm's not perfect, or maybe there's a tattletale out there. I don't know. But ultimately, though, if somebody's an idiot or a moron or flat out stupid, it's not my problem. I mean, if that's what they are, I've had people call, I'm sure a lot of you probably think I'm completely stupid, and I don't really care, honestly, but, it's your right to say it. It's your right to say Gray Fox is an idiot. Gray Fox is a stupid...
Gray Fox, you're a moron.
Yeah, Gray Fox is a retarded conservative Trumper that doesn't believe in the science. I don't care. I actually take that as if not believing in the science, I take that as a badge of honor, because science today is just pretty much popular opinion that's basically force-fed down by people who barely even have control of their own fucking lives to begin with. But so we're going to get into that basically. That's just my opening rant. So the first thing I want to talk about before I get into the whole N-word spiel, today I was kind of pondering on I was pondering on a few topics that basically are alluded to cancel culture. So today there's been a few things that I've been seeing like lately in the past couple of weeks. One part has been about fat acceptance. Another part's basically been about a lack of like cigarette ads, or anti-cigarette ads. Let me say that. And then a lot of other things in regards to like STDs. These have been things that have been like culminating basically, and I've just kind of started piecing things together to where I can finally more accurately say what I was trying to say when we used to have some tangents about not wanting universal health care and things of that nature. I kind of finally hit the nail in the coffin in the right way I was trying to say it. So I'll get to that when I get there. So I haven't seen any of those. If you watch TV, there's these anti-cigarette ads I've seen with these dopey puppets that basically, like, they're also talking about vaping. It's like, if you vape, it's safer. If you vape, and they cut him off when he's talking about it. Right. So basically, it's like, if you vape, you're 5 times or 20 times more likely to smoke cigarettes. I don't know. I've got a friend. I've got a friend who's got a friend who vaped, and I've never seen him like chain smoke cigarettes or anything like that. And he's been vaping for years, and he's a pretty cool guy. My brother vapes. I mean, it's not for me. It's not. It's personally, it's not for me. I tried it once, and it was a decent flavor, but it's not something that I could regularly do because it still can irritate basically the fibers on your lungs, especially if you do it a lot. But it is a lot safer than smoking. If people disagree with you on that, if you're not pumping tar into your system, there's still effects that you can get from vaping, but if you're not pumping like pure tar into your lungs, and it's just kind of like when you smoke marijuana, for example, if you're not lacing it or anything of that nature, and you're just smoking it for the effects and whatnot, you're not putting tar into your system. So even though I would never smoke marijuana or be a regular vapor, it's still something that is actually safer than cigarettes. I'm not necessarily saying it's healthier, but it's not going to cause like extreme detrimental disruption to your body as opposed to like putting like pure tar into your system, into your lungs, and fucking you up. Sadly, my grandmother died of lung cancer, and it wasn't irreversible because she was in her late 80s, but she lived to be in her late 80s, and that's what matters. Plus, you come from a different time where they try to teach you smoking is glamorous and things like that. But this isn't like to shame people. If smoking's your thing, smoking's your thing. I'm not, it's like, I hope you got, things prepped for the future, but overall, it's like, whatever you want to do is whatever you want to do. I don't care. But it's funny how I haven't seen, I could be wrong, but I haven't seen those ads pop up in like a year and a half, roughly. And I kind of started thinking about that today off the top of my head. I'm just like, why is that? Then I started piecing some other things together. I was also kind of piecing some things together in regards to like a lot of this like fat acceptance that I've been seeing that's been going through magazines. Now, I'm not in the best shape, I'm going to admit that, but I don't expect pity or people to pay for my medical bills or anything of that nature. I've got my own health insurance, and I work my ass off and everything like that. So, I mean, even though I'm not perfect, at least I still exercise and things of that nature so I don't get bigger than I am, But ultimately, I've been sitting back and just thinking about this. If you look at all these people who are basically saying doctors are trying to fat shame you, or basically trying to say that fat can be fit or things of that nature, if you look at it in the grand scale, ultimately, I think a lot of these people are speaking in the sense that when you're young, like you're in your 20s and 30s, and you're heavy set, you feel certain effects. Like basically, you might feel like you might not be able to walk as long as other people, or you might be short of breath at points or stuff. But you don't feel like uncomfortable, or you don't feel like you don't feel uncomfortable, or you don't feel like you lose or sleep or anything of that nature. So when you're in your 20s or 30s, because your immune system is typically going to be a lot stronger, and your body is going to be, your youth basically, it keeps you up with a lot of energy a majority of the time, you're not going to really feel the bad effects of being fat. When you get around my age, though, like I'm almost 39, so when you start getting close to 40, though, you're going to start feeling it, like I already am. Like I shouldn't have. I let myself go a bit because of COVID, and I tell you, I'm regretting it big time. Like I can't. I'm not able to walk as much as I was able to. Like I can still walk and everything. And I'm not saying like I'm becoming like bedridden or going to be in a motor scooter or anything like that. But it's tougher. It's a lot tougher on me because I let myself go, and as a result of that, I'm paying the piper for that. I've got to get myself back into walking shape. I mean, I can still lift, which I'm grateful for. I can still do 50 reps or curls per arm with my 30-pound weight, so I'm grateful for that. But I tell you, walking is a pain in the ass right now. I know I can get myself back into it, but the older you get, the tougher being heavy and fat and obese is going to be on you. you know, and I'm not trying to, you know, I'm not, you know, I mean, I shouldn't have to say this, but the reality of it is nobody's trying to shame anybody. We doctors, it's their job to make sure that they diagnose you properly. It's their job to make sure that you basically consider healthier lifestyles and options. That's all it is. If you want to take it as fat shaming and stuff, then have fun dying in your 40s. I mean, that's what it comes down to, you know. But basically, that's the thing. A lot of these kids are young still, so being fat isn't like detrimental to them just yet. But when you hit, after you pass 35, you start getting, it starts getting slow, it starts just slowly creeping up on you. And then when you get close to 40, it really takes a massive effect on you. And it's going to keep doing that because your muscles and your joints get weaker as you age. So imagine if you're carrying all this weight on you. That's why you see older people in scooters who are fat, because basically their legs cannot support the weight anymore. And I would never ever want to see anybody get into that point. But no, it's all this like, oh, you know, it's like you go girl and stuff. But we're going to be getting to some ironies here. One irony is this: when it comes to animals, and this is going to build up to my theory that I've had for a long time, and it's going to seem more plausible after this. Take it as you want, but you know, hear me out here. So this is one other step to it. Why is it that when a cat, because like, here's something I've seen on social media, I've seen cats grow to disproportionate masses. We're talking like 25 to 35 pounds. They look like little fluffy fat balls, basically. So apparently people have a problem with that. Oh my God, he's just so big, you know, he shouldn't be doing that. So why is it that with animals, with instinctual creatures, we have this massive concern for their well-being, minus those idiot vegans who think that cats can be vegans, for example? Fuck that. No, that's a different can of worms. But why is it that we take concern over instinctual animals, but yet when we have the rational, you know, hopefully rational, and you know, more intelligent beings in humanity, why is it that we have to like praise people who are obese? Why do we have to praise people that are morbid? Oh, nobody's doing that. Bullshit. Go on Twitter and just look up fat acceptance. Just go ahead and do that, and you'll see mixed reactions. But look at the positive. Look at body positivity. You're going to see all these I mean, there's nothing wrong with being thick. Like, I love thick booty. I love big boobs. You know, obviously, I love curvy thighs. Nothing wrong with that. But if you look at people who are like super plus size, like if you remember, I think it was like, I forget the magazine where you see that chick just like she ate an entire cake of her like entire magazine fold out, for example. You know, when you see things like that, it's just disgusting. When I'm seeing all these people, you know, with and like they're even promoting, like it goes as bad as where I've seen these ads on was it Amazon? It was either, you know, it was Facebook. I saw these ads for these like quote unquote workout clothes, like sports bras and panties and stuff, where the women had like 4 rolls in their legs. I'm not kidding, like 4 fatty folds, and they were all smiling and happy. How can anybody promote and model and promote things like that? It's so disgusting. Pregnancy stuff I can get, plus size stuff I get, but when we're talking like if you look up fatty stripper, for example, when we're talking when you have massive rolls, and I'm going to use an old school joke, we've got more chins than a Hong Kong dictionary. I'm going to use that old school Garfield joke from the 80s. When you've got more chins than a fucking Hong Kong dictionary, how can you live with yourself like that? How the hell can you promote yourself and look, you know, just put yourself out there for people? It's so, it promotes just these disgusting and just dreadful and frightening values into younger audiences. It makes it look like this is okay, and it's not okay.
No.
If you're fat, you're fat. If you're doing something to fix it, that's fine. But if you're morbidly obese to the point to where you're having heart problems, diabetes, or anything that basically is going to just completely destroy your life, then why
serious.
it is, why would you put yourself through that? If you have diabetes and you're managing yourself better and you've learned your lesson and everything, good for you. I mean, look, sometimes you got to learn the hard way to start focusing in, but some people who even get it, they don't care, they still continue on these destructive paths. And we're going to get to where that's building up. I'm going to drop it.
Life people.
There you go.
Ugh.
I'm going to drop a hint. Well, at least some of those people, take control. Some do,
yeah.
but here I'm going to drop the hint. We're expected to pay for this, so there's the hint there of what I'm getting to. So, it's sad that we value instinctual animals over humanity in terms of what's acceptable, and that even goes into the N-word too, which I'll get to later. It's just so funny how this correlates. So then, what it comes down to is, there's medications for it, there's treatments for it. Yeah, of course there is, but they're a pain in the ass. I'm not going to go into details because I don't really like talking about stuff like that. See, I did blood tests a lot when I was a kid because I was diagnosed ADHD at 5. I talk a lot, and I'm a motor mouth. I used to be very impulsive. I'm no longer impulsive, thank God. Because if I was, I wouldn't be able to hold down a job. But, when you're a kid and everything, it's tough on you. I had to take Ritalin. And when you take Ritalin, you have to get blood tests. I developed a needle phobia. I don't like hospitals. It's a fear of mine. But if I need to go to one to for checkups, like I've had to do, I had to do some checkups before. You do what you got to do. I did a blood test a few years ago, and I managed. I actually, the nurse talked to me through it and everything. So yeah, I'm a pussy to needles. I'll admit that there. But it's not the end of the world. There could be worse things, that could be afraid of. But ultimately, here's the problem, though. Diseases like, for example, COVID-19 apparently is finding new strains. I'm not going to try to fearmonger anybody, but things like syphilis, gonorrhea, they found super strains of that are uncurable for now. But technology and science will find it later. Yeah. So, but here's the ultimate thing, though. So let's jump to sexually transmitted diseases. So ultimately, like in California, for example, it's no longer a felony to basically give somebody HIV. It's now a misdemeanor. You apparently don't really even have to tell any of your partners if you got STDs or anything of that nature there. I'm just kind of loosely speaking that. So ultimately then what it boils down to is, hedonistic pleasures then. That's kind of what I'm gathering from all of this, basically. It's selfish hedonistic pleasures. I mean, we've got columns out there that spread this misinformation about being fat, that spread this misinformation about, being, monogamous. If you want to sleep around, I don't care, but that does not free you from others' criticism, nor does that free you from my opinions, which also carry fact with them. People are trying to state that if you're not polygamous, you're going to have mental disorders.
What?
Yeah. I've seen these opinion columns. Pop up on. I mean, these are sites like Vox and what is it like? Just these progressive sites. You take it with a grain of salt. But here's the thing, though. So many people today take these things beyond a grain of salt. So many people today believe in this stuff. Where it's quite the contrary. Typically, I mean, like, I've tried being a friend with benefit. It's not fun. Especially, I mean, it's like, we probably didn't have the right partners. That's part of it, but there's so much, how should I put this? There's so much emotional weight behind it. I don't get how people could just be so callous and throw things like that away. I mean, look at my background image. I mean, I'm a dirty freak, but, I'm not going to be one of those people that are going to randomly sleep with people or anything. Oh, you're an incel. Quite the contrary. quite the contrary there. But, I digress there. Basically, I don't really care. I used to make a big deal about it and things like that. I mean, I've had sex a few times, I have, and today it's not a big deal to me. I don't care. I really just don't care. I'm still into my dirty stuff, and we got to get our rocks off one way, but one part of it is I don't want to break hearts. I don't want to accidentally give somebody a baby. Because I don't believe in abortion or anything of that nature there. I don't want to deal with emotional baggage. I don't want to deal, because I tried it, and believe me, the chicks that I was with great bodies, you know, had everything I was looking for in the rack section and everything like that. But, you know, one of them slept their way to the top of the company I worked for. Another one basically just used me as the big sister, talking about how much she was just hated her mom and everything of that nature. And I mean, with Pikachu, I've been through a lot of, you know, mom discussions and things like that, but let's just multiply those by 100. If you got a problem with your parents, I mean, like, Pikachu's finally doing something about that, so I have to give her props for that. This is somebody that you can literally tell is just, you know, is just clinging on to you for utter suckling dependence, basically. Stage 5 clinger, yeah. She just recently saw Wedding Crashers, so there you go. So it's just one of those things where it's like, you're more like a big sister. When I saw that, like, I would literally, like, I wouldn't sit there and just be like, I'm going to listen to all of your problems. I wasn't trying to be the nice guy. I'd be like, hey, let's go shoot pool. Hey, let's go get some coffee or hot chocolate. Hey, let's go for a car ride. Hey, let's go hiking. I offered all of these things to her. And of course, it's just like, no, I'm not interested. I just want to tell you about my problems. I just ignored her. I just stopped texting her. It's like, hey, look, you know, you came over on my birthday, which was awesome. We did some dirty stuff. We went on a few dates, and then the date stopped. What does that tell me? Either I'm not her cup of tea, which is whatever, or I just kind of evolved, you know, I just wasn't like, you know, I gave all the signs I could, but I guess I wasn't like, you know, I guess she wasn't the relationship type. Now, again, I'm not trying to sound like some misogynist or anything like that, but let me tell you something, you know, if I start noticing a swing in behavior patterns and you're not wanting to hang out with me anymore and you just want to talk and complain or lean on me like that, you know, that ear to cry in, but I want more than that, you go your own way. You know, it's just what it comes down to, basically. Oh, you're such an incel. Oh, yeah. Oh, I totally am. You know. So basically, I digress. It comes down to those. It comes down to the STDs. So many people today, like the APA, for example, the American Psychology Association, are going to basically, because they're so woke now, they're basically going to start replacing the normality of what a lot of psychological disorders are and reversing it. Like, for example, they're trying to say, they pretty much were trying to claim that transgenderism, for example, isn't a mental disorder, when, you know, a majority of the time it is. You know, if you're not prepared for it and you're committing suicide and everything like that, there's a problem with that. You're not able to handle your choice. Oh, but they get made fun of and everything. Yeah, true. What do you expect when you decide to do something that is beyond normal? What do you expect to do something when you're trying to delude yourself from what reality is? I mean, yeah, sure, okay, I love fantasy and things like that, but I don't try to make my fantasy a reality or anything of that nature there. I mean, there's little bits that you could and stuff, but, you know, I'm talking about, you know, where you see people going out there like saying, I'm a dragon, and they cosmetically change themselves to reflect that, but then they're like depressed, or, you know, they get shunned or made fun of. That's something you have to deal with. Not everybody's going to accept your choice. And I've said this so many times, you can do whatever you want to do, but again, it doesn't free you from others' criticism, it doesn't free you from guilt, it doesn't free you from, you know, responsibility or anything like that. You got to take the kicks if you're going to go the mile. That's just the way it is. Now, I'm not saying that everybody should go out there. I mean, like, if somebody's going to make fun of you or something, that's one thing. But I don't think somebody should go out there and beat these people up or kill them or anything of that nature. Because, you know, I'm going to crack a shock humor joke. They do that to themselves enough already. So, and it's true. You could be, oh, you're so insensitive. Well, it's true, though. These numbers don't lie. They've been growing steadily. But, I mean, that's the point of shock humor, basically, is that it takes an irony and exaggerates it, or it's an exaggerated irony, basically, which is a lot of what, you know, right-wing humor is. But, of course, you know, we have to take it seriously. So then, you know, we add these in. So we have, you know, hedonistic things such as cigarettes, vaping, being fat, eating what you want without caring about the consequences, sleeping around and having sex with as many people as you want without consequence, or without caring about the consequences. So then let's get to the other irony. So the APA put out a new type of disorder or anxiety called climate anxiety. So this is basically where you have this fear of the environment never getting better, and it's apparently now a clinical diagnosis, which is total fucking bullshit. You know, there are people out there that have fought in battlefields that have legit PTSD, not self-diagnosed, but legit PTSD. There are people who have been in legit abusive relationships consistently. Now, problem with that is that's your choice to keep going and being attracted to people like that, but going around and promoting it as opposed to getting help for it is a very, very, very poor way of living. But then, of course, like we've said many times, victimhood is bank today. So with the climate anxiety, with the climate change, here comes the other parallel that I'm going to throw at you. So we're supposed to believe in this climate change, in this environment. We're supposed to believe that this environmental disaster and doomsday is coming. So we're supposed to care about that, get ourselves overly taxed. Yet, we're supposed to let people ruin their lives by being unhealthy, by being hedonistic, and not preparing for the future for their own lives. But yet, we're supposed to save the environment. We have to save the environment, but we can't save our health because it's shaming, because it's intolerant, because it's racist, because it's homophobic, anything. So what's ironic about that? How the hell are we supposed to enjoy a saved planet if we can't live to see it? We're going to be dying in our 40s of obesity, of HIV, of AIDS. I mean, we're going to be lung cancer. We're going to be so hedonistically enveloped into just these pleasures that we're not going to care about taking care of ourselves. And yes, this is an exaggeration because I know some people are probably going to be like, oh, but hopefully a lot of my listeners, I hate having to dumb things down like this, but it's an ironic exaggeration. This is what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to care about the environment, but it's okay if we are if we're just eating all the sugar we want, smoking all the cigarettes we want, doing all the just habitual drug use, sleeping around, even like I could even go as far as just doing all these things. Well, I don't want to say that, but just even going as far as just doing things that can literally lead us to clinical depression. But yet the environment, we have to focus on that. So then comes the real question now, my theory. I really believe, I'm starting to believe, now this isn't everybody on the left, but I'm starting to believe that especially these uber progressives, who I'm going to flat out call eco-terrorists,
Yes.
I'm starting to believe that I believe this for some time, they don't care about humanity whatsoever. They do not care about humanity at all. All they care about is the planet, and that's it. They don't care what happens to the life on it. They don't care what happens to, the animals they pretend to, but I think they are just misanthropes. They're just a perfect example of misanthropes, basically. They're just an absolute perfect example of that very definition. They isolate themselves from society. They take these good causes. I mean, not only because they're afraid of being called monsters, but they take these big causes to just basically wipe out humanity because they can't stand being in their shoes. That's what I'm really starting to get garnished from all of this. It's one of those many theories I've had looming about, but I've only been able to perfectly set it out today. These are people that want us. Now, this is why there's the universal healthcare thing. These are people who can't take control of their own health, but expect us to pay for it. That's the reason why I don't believe in free healthcare. I'm not going to be held accountable, and I would never expect anybody to be held accountable for anybody's problems. I'm not going to put my tax dollars or my paycheck to people who are overweight, overweight's fine. Let me just say it's obese, morbidly obese. I'm not going to put my paycheck to people who have problems like that. I'm not going to put my paycheck to people who choose to live a chain-smoking life, for example. I'm not going to put my tax dollars to anybody who, like, eventually up the road, who want to abort children, things of that nature. I'm not here to give you those quote-unquote rights that you claim. Being able to do things that you want is not a human right. It's a privilege. That is a privilege. Driving's a privilege. Healthcare is a privilege. They're not human rights. I'm sorry. They are not human rights. Living is a half and half. It can be a right, but it's also a privilege at the same time, because you've got to take care of yourself. No, and you can't depend on others to take care of yourself, but this is what a lot of these progressives want. They think that they can medicate themselves and they'll be fine and they can live the exact same lifestyle that they were doing before. They do absolutely no research on anything that they could eventually get. They don't understand the severity of it. If it does happen to you, there's ways to manage it, and there's ways to even sometimes reverse it, but it takes so much diligence. And how can you trust somebody who has thrown their life completely away to hedonistic pleasure, who hate themselves? How can you expect them to turn the table around? It rarely happens. You can't help, if you can't help yourself first, you can't help others. There's no way anybody will trust you. And if you are already hating yourself and can't help yourself, but you're helping others, you're wearing a good mask. Mm-hmm. And you'll eventually get exposed. Your lack of integrity will be exposed.
You'll end up like the intervention episode with Tally from South Park. Yeah.
Anybody want their dick sucked by a towel?
Yeah, exactly.
So that's pretty much what I've come down to at that. Everything that I've discussed, I'm just now convinced that there are so many uber progressives out there that hate humanity and want to see it burn. If you don't fit in that mold, good for you. But if you do, I seriously consider you to reevaluate your life. You can cancel me if you want, you can report me, I don't give a shit. I'm so unpopular on YouTube that basically when all the popular people are gone, I'm going to become popular, and then you'll be coming after me. And you'll be coming after Pikachu. And you'll be coming after Boku. And you'll be coming after Ardith. I mean, that's fine. That's fine. If you feel the need to do something of that nature, I mean, this is the reason why we don't give out our names, because we know. You'd be like, oh, you're a coward. I mean, this is why we don't show ourselves on camera, because we know. We know. It's like, no, nobody's trying to do that to you. You're just a coward. No, I've seen people. Yeah, no one's going to dox you. Really?
We don't believe that.
I've seen it happen so many times. I don't get any profit out of this. So you're not really going to be, you're not going to be demonetizing me or anything like that. I don't do this for profit. I don't, I've got a fine career for profit. So, I mean, that's just the way it is there. Now it's like, challenge accepted. I'm going to find out everything about you. I'm not really a bad person. You may not like what I have to say, but, I'm a very hardworking and I'm a very generous person. Sometimes I even have trouble saying no. Pikachu knows that. Mm-hmm. So, but that's just the way it is. You view me the way you want to. You know yourself better than me, and I know myself better than you. So... But that's pretty much everything that we came onto that. Anything else you want to add, Pikachu?
Well, I kept forgetting to say this earlier, and I didn't really get an opportunity. So when you were talking at the very beginning of the video, I call this the age of stupidity. Because look at all this crazy shit people are doing. Look at all this crazy stuff that used to be considered awful and bad and illegal, even like the child pornography thing. That's like, seriously, what is wrong with you guys? This is wrong, okay?
That's the sexuality. You need to respect it, Pikachu.
No. Just no.
As simplistic as what she said, it's true. Yeah. It is true. We have gone so. I mean, Baijiu, just like it's been a term that's been around the Urban Dictionary years before even Tucker said it. It's true. It is completely true. They accept half-assed values, backwards values, all for the sake of multiculturalism, all for the sake of accepting just these disgusting, totally just disgusting and unacceptable, basically thought patterns, interests, fetishes, you name it. It's wrong.
That's actually a very good segue there too. I was going to get into that too. We have gotten so bad that other countries don't even respect us anymore.
Yeah.
That is just fucking terrible.
Yeah, China thinks we're a bunch of wusses, and they're right. It's so funny how the change of administration can completely change the way people look at you. Now, there's been people that thought we were terrible under Trump in different countries because they're just a bunch of fucking idiots. But, I'm not saying Trump was the greatest president in the world, but at least he kept his promises for the most part. I mean, I've never seen anybody do that, basically. With all the lying and the ego that he said, he still kept his promises, and basically the Democrats hated him for that. They totally hated him, and now all these things that have just been great during it have been reversed, and it's pathetic and sad to see. It's just pathetic and sad to see that we have to keep mentioning women, being part of the Secretary of Treasury and things like. No one cares. It doesn't matter. I want competent people based off their merit. I don't care if they're black and they're competent. Awesome. If they're black and incompetent, I don't want them. If they're women and they're competent, awesome. If they're women and incompetent, I don't want them. That's all it is. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, and that's all that matters to a lot of these idiots anymore is, we have to do diversity. We have to pander to all this crap.
We have to meet our
quotas. We care about
quotas.
it?
Yeah, exactly. It's just so funny what's become these high priorities today. Feminism back in the 30s and stuff, I get it. Fighting for the right to vote. I mean, it makes sense. It did. It really did.
It doesn't
and then
anymore.
in the 60s, it started taking on an uglier side, and now today it's pointless. There's no point in being a feminist today. You have the same rights as every other human being on this fucking planet, unless you're a criminal. But But again, you play a stupid game, win a stupid prize. It's incredible how so many people make up these victimhoods, these self-diagnosed diseases, and they base their entire reality off of what they read online. And when people crack those jokes to you, like about CNN and things like that, it's not just an exaggeration. It's ironic, because a lot of times whenever when I've argued with people on social media, there's some smart people that I disagree with, but then there's these people that would just completely I'll use this for an example. This is something I was going to segue into. The definition of homophobia, for example, it is so out of context, because basically homo is same and phobia is fear. Nobody who has a problem with gay couples is afraid of gay couples. A phobia is a fear. It's not a disgust or a dislike of someone. It's a fear. So whenever I bring that up, even in a civil discourse, which I've done once, I just keep getting the replies of what it is. It's so you're showing me the definition. It's wrong. It's literally incorrect. It is if you, like I said, same fear. Nobody is afraid. No one is afraid of homosexuals. I have no problem with homosexuals unless they try to basically demand me to accept everything about them. I don't have to do that. You can love who you love, but I'm not going to accept your degeneracy, and I'm not going to accept you trying to force it down people's throats through activism and media. I don't care. Leave me alone, let me love who I want to love, and I'll let you love who you want to love. That's all it boils down to. But when you take it beyond that, that's when I've got a problem. That's when many people have a problem. But you can show me the definition on Google all you want. It doesn't make it right. It doesn't make it correct.
Nope.
I don't care if it's socially accepted. It's wrong. You can, and it's there's no argument to this. It's boy, that's very authoritarian. I had somebody say to me, there's no argument to this. Oh, okay. So basically, when we've determined for several hundreds of years that there's only two genders, apparently that's up for debate. But yet, when you inaccurately use a prefix and a suffix together inaccurately, that's the truth. There's no argument against it. You see, these just double standards, these mental gymnastics that are consistently played. realistically, anything can be argued except the truth. What the truth is what the truth is. There's no subjectiveness to that. The truth is objective. Facts can be subjective. Opinions are definitely subjective, but truth is always the truth, as long as you're not lying.
Yeah.
It's just like, I told the truth even when I lie, like a Scarface. Yeah, but that's what these idiot progressives believe. A majority of the left even believe that the truth is subjective. It's not. That's their one of their biggest problems. They just think that they can twist everything. It comes down to what we've said about erasing history. Erasing history to rewriting it. I mean, it's kind of funny. I cracked a joke with all these people who are still letting Trump live rent-free in their heads right now, still blaming him for all of their woes and everything. Imagine if white people became extinct. We're still going to be scapegoats. We're still going to be living in their heads when we're long gone, and they're suffering without, they're just suffering, and they're slowly coming into decline if that were to happen. Now, I'm not saying it would, but what if it did? What if everything about how white civilization created Western civilization and much of civilization, in the world, where we didn't have to sacrifice people for our gods or anything like that, but we have to accept that because that's part of their culture. Well, okay, so basically, there's people that believe in God. I personally am agnostic, but I'm not going to sit there and basically, tell somebody they can't believe in God. I mean, I don't mind cracking atheist jokes or stuff like that, but I'm not going to be at the same time, saying, oh, he doesn't exist whatsoever. I mean, there's always a possibility. There's always a chance. But basically, so with Christianity and everything, where they believe in monogamy and they believe in family and things like that, and they don't believe in homosexuality, and I'm not talking about the ones that are basically going to beat you up for what you believe in, but are against it. So what? That's their belief. It doesn't mean, if there's people who take it beyond just preaching, they're fucking idiots, okay? That's their problem. But if there's these people that just believe this, but they're letting you live and do what you like, that's all there is to it there. And there's many Christians out there that are like that. There are even gay Christians out there. There's bisexual Christians. Christianity shouldn't matter in my opinion, Christianity should not matter as to, who you sleep with or anything of that nature. But at the same time, though, Christianity should not be used as a tool for hate, nor should it be used as a target for hate. That's the bottom line there. Yeah, so Christianity's had a bloody past. Every religion's had a bloody past, Just look at Islam, for Christ's sake. I used the bad word. I'm an Islamophobe now. And it's funny, too, because, I called it, when they were talking about the Iran deal being cut short and everybody was all afraid, all of a sudden I'm like, wow, that sounds kind of Islamophobic, See, there's another irony there. And I'm sure there's still a lot of Islamophobes worried about Iran bombing us because of that. But, when they do it, it's not Islamophobia. It's genuine concern, of course. But I digress. So you see, it's just this, that's their overall problem with that. So now that we're done with that nice little meaty middle part here, let's conclude and then get to video games. So finally, I saw a hypocrite did a video about nigga, and basically he's like, who cares if somebody says nigga? So it was funny because I was going to watch that video, but I held off on it. What prompted me to watch that video, though, was lately I've been watching this, if you like Cinemassacre, you got Angry Video Game Nerd and Mike Matai and things of that nature. I love Angry Video Game Nerd. I'm a big fan of his. I love his works. I'm glad that he's got a family. I love watching even his daughters create Mario Maker, levels. It's really cool. It's really cool, and she's gotten better with it too. Check it out. Yeah, check out his channel if you haven't yet. So Mike Matai recently left Cinemassacre. He was the one that did a lot of production and credit casting and things like that in the background. They would sit together and play some games or review things. He's the one that did move the glow from my elbow to my asshole to find the main menu. So he'd be making fun of the Inspector Gadget stuff. So he does his own side streams where basically he goes through various video games and does various challenges. Like, I remember I watched him do Zelda 2 with the level 1 sword and stuff like that. It's fun to watch. You know, I'm not like a diehard fan of his, but I do love watching him for video games. So we'll get to where I'm kind of alluding with that shortly. So when I did a search for Mike Matai, because I wanted to see what else he did, like I kind of just did it by mistake rather than going into his channel and looking video to video. I saw this group of people that did this video on him. Apparently, like 4 years ago, he showed off his cock or something like that. But I've been trying to find pictures of it and stuff, and you know, I've seen like no pictures of it, but it was like the talk of the town, like in 2017. Now, apparently, Mike lied about it, and it's whatever. I honestly, it's like if he's showing it for, I mean, like, you know, I can even like crack the trolling joke, like who hasn't shown their cock on the internet? Now, me, I personally have not, and Pikachu hasn't shown her cock or anything like that, but. But but, but basically, you know, I guess I have more dignity, and I guess Pikachu has more dignity too, because you know she doesn't have a cock. But anyway,
all Pikachu's have them. What are you talking about?
All Pikachu's have cocks. Even the female Pikachu's have cocks. I got to remember that. I'm so sorry. I broke the hermaphrodite rule of Pokemon. You know, just like Staryu.
Yes.
But I digress. There, basically. Apparently, like, so I sat there and it's like, well, I mean, it sucks that he lied about it or, like, created, like, sock puppet accounts and stuff to defend himself, but honestly, I don't know. I mean, I've seen people do, like, worse shit, really. Like, you know, for example, self-diagnosing diseases and wearing them proudly instead of trying to seek help, trying to make money off of, like, pain and suffering, rather than, like, showing a fun product like playing video games, for example. Oh, but anyway, the second thing is that apparently, like, Mike Matai is, like, a racist or something like that. So I was trying to find comics of his where he did like this like Mexican dude and like Loco something or other, and I finally found one. Yeah, Loco Bendito. Thank you. Yes. So I went to Reset Era of all fucking places, you know, the basically Hell's Waiting Room. So I go to Reset Era, and I find the comic, and basically it showed like him and like some caricature of like Charles Nelson Riley at the border just complaining about stuff, and then they like Charles Nelson Riley apparently brought him like a sack of cocaine, so they started snorting it, and then like Riley just started like, you know, humping a bus, and then all of a sudden apparently there were like black people on the bus, and then he used the N-word on it, like the hard N-word and everything like that, and, you know, was pointing that out. And I sat there and I'm like, it gave me a childish laugh. Like, I kind of chuckled at it because of just the absurd wording of it made me laugh. But I sat there, it's like, this isn't racism, this is shock humor. Like, you know, Norm Macdonald's used it, Michael Richards used it, but he did it stupidly. You know, like they called him the N-word guy and whatnot. But, you know, I looked at this and I'm just like, you guys are really getting your panties in a twist over a stupid, poorly drawn comic. Well, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily say it was poorly drawn. It takes some talent to draw the way he did. But I mean, like, mediocrely drawn, you know, comic with some obscure shock humor in it, and that suddenly makes you racist. Like, if somebody are going to get in an argument with me on that video or something of that nature, it'd be more so like, you know, it'd be more so like, it's like, is it, like, I asked on the video, I'm like, is this satire? And apparently, like, if I got a reply and stuff, it'd be like, no, it's real stuff. It's like, what makes him a racist? And they tell me, oh, we drew this comic. It's like, oh, thank God, I thought he was like a KKK Klansman or something, so it's just a comic online? Good, then he's not a racist. Or say something like, well, we're all racist and everything. Well, I'm not. It's like, what color skin are you and stuff? Does it matter? Yes, because if you're white, you're a racist. I mean, I could go off like that. I mean, you throw it right back in their faces. So you see, Mike, I've watched his streams. He's said some just foul words. He's also like, he's talked about like how, you know, Jessica Rabbit's like his top cartoon babe, and I don't put him past him on that, really, you know. So I mean, yeah, he said perverted things too. Who cares? I mean, if I would be more concerned if this guy were like showing his dick to children, or if this guy were like basically saying, you know, kill all the Jews, or, you know, just like, you know, kill all the blacks or something like that. If this guy like went to like to actual like neo-Nazi conventions or marches or anything like that. I'm not talking about the alt-right, bullshit that you stupid red herringers talk about. More so, just I'm talking like legit stuff. There's only like what 3,000 people left in the country that are like truly like that, I mean, if he seriously like went to like these Uber KKK things, like if they, just those little meetings, or if he was preaching that stuff, I would be more concerned then. But then people would be like, oh, you're just a sad fan. It's like, I'm not even really like a big fan of his. I just love watching him play video games. Oh, well, you subscribe to his channel, so that means you're a fan. I subscribe to ESPN, but I don't like every team that plays on it. I just like watching college football, for example. So I like watching a guy playing video games. Does that mean that I'm like some Uber fan? I like seeing right? I hop around and I like seeing what different people do. Speed runs, walkthroughs. I mean, some people could probably come to my channel, they don't subscribe, but they like watching my content, or they hate, our content, basically.
Or the like informative videos. I forget the name of the dude, but the dude who does this Diablo 2 ones, there's a couple of guys.
Yeah, like Llama or like Grunsky,
yes,
like that.
Grunsky,
Yeah, I mean, I'm not like super fans of theirs, but I love watching their material because they help me out in doing some runs and things like that. So, you can use those holier than thou speeches on me, or those basically those ad hominem attacks on me. That's fine. I mean, I do ad hominem a lot, but it's basically I basically do it ironically, because it's just more fun to basically make fun of people than it is to have civil discourse. But when I have civil discourse once in a while, it is what it is. So it prompts me to watch the there's nothing wrong with saying nigga video, but by iHypocrite. And I mean, it's just so funny what happened, and I would advise watching it. It made me laugh, and I was sitting here kind of like pondering to myself, and I told Pikachu when we were watching, I'm like, isn't it funny how if you like basically determining who says like what race says a word, like apparently dictates a different meaning for it or something like that, when it's essentially like whatever the same word, whatever the word is like, no matter who it's said by, me is pretty much what it means. It's so funny how we're so fickle, and we put these little like asterisks or connotations on people to just go out of our way not to offend them, when a funny thing is that a majority of these people don't even give a shit.
Actually, yeah, I think I'm going to use my example that I used earlier. They're saying that if you call somebody SA or G or something, and you're black, it's the equivalent, it's the same equivalent of calling, if you're black and you call someone nigga, it's fine. But if you're a white person and you say that, then it's racist!
Yeah, oh, you're using a bad word or something like that. Or that's part of their culture. Honestly, if you're defending... like, I've listened to a lot of like black kids, for example. Like I remember I was listening to one of them like speaking on NBA 2K or whatnot. Like Hypocrite put up a video of it, and if you really want to defend that illiterate diction that many of them speak, I mean, like I said, I don't care, like if that's the way you want to speak, that's the way you want to speak, but if this is really the way that people think that you can talk to people like this, like in a professional job setting, or even conversing. Like I remember we had a neighbor downstairs that had this just obscure boyfriend who would just say the F word like every sentence. I mean, I say the F word, once in a while, but it was like, fuck this, fuck that. I was like, it's like Forrest Gump, F this and F that, and it was the same thing. Like he would just use it, and it was hard to follow him because he spoke so fast, and he just spoke with this bad, just ghetto street diction. If you really think that's acceptable and worth defending, fine. Personally, though, I think it's unprofessional, it's inappropriate, and it makes you look like an idiot. Yes. Hands down. Yes. If you rap it and you make money off of it, yeah. I mean, I'm not going to stop you. Look, like again, no one's stopping you from talking like that. No one's stopping you from rapping it, making money off it, whatever. I mean, I use it once in a while for jokes and things like that. But like whenever I crack the white man in Boondocks, it's like, now we can settle this like gentlemen, or we can get into some good old gangsta shit. Just saying it like that, saying it like in normal diction, just saying things like that. I love the irony and the humor about it. So I'll throw like a few things like that, but ultimately, though, like I said, doesn't free you from the criticism. It's just so unprofessional. It's kind of like when I was talking about, like, dyed hair, basically. It looks good on some girls, like crazy dyed hair, different unnatural colors, things like that. Some girls can pull it off. I see it so frequently, though, especially, like, in the job world, and I get when you're in retail or, like, fast food, it doesn't really matter, They'll be more open to it. But when I start seeing, for example, I don't know, maybe delegates from the U.S. talking with delegates of China, and I start seeing that, or when I start seeing that, if I start to see that on the floors of Congress, or I'm sure I've seen Intel have it and things like that. When you start seeing it start to flow out to higher positions, it questions people's professionality. It's like, is this really you looking at your best, or is this the way you want to represent yourself in a professional setting? And eventually it's more than likely going to become the norm. It's like, it doesn't matter how people express themselves and blah, blah. No, I get it. You can call me old-fashioned or a boomer on it. I get it, okay? It just doesn't look professional. The way I look at it, it just doesn't look professional. But if that's what you're into, if that's the way you're going to roll, and if that's the way society becomes, all I ask is this. Don't carry the stereotype of activism with it, because the majority of people that have colored hair, like crazy dyed colored hair, tend to be really intolerable people. But I'm not saying all of them. I mean, there's a lot of nice people out there. Again,
like
but the
that,
way it's
waitress that we used to go to, I forget which one of the restaurants that we used to go to sit down, and there was a waitress that kept dyeing her hair like Bulma.
Oh yeah, from IHOP, yeah. I mean, but she pulled it off.
Exactly,
She could do it right. Yeah, she could do it right and stuff. I mean, cosplayers do it well. There's a lot of people out there I know in food and retail industry that do it and are nice, fine people.
Yeah.
All right, so like I said, like we said, I'm not saying everybody is like this, but overall, you kind of paint a picture sometimes when you get into upper management. You kind of paint a picture of where, a lot of people are going to view it as immature, or a lot of people are going to view it as unprofessional, not looking nice or neat. It's hard to take. Sometimes it's hard to take. I could be seeing myself sitting at a meeting and I'm seeing this. It's like, it's hard for me to take somebody seriously like that. It really is. First impressions can make a lot of things. Like, I would never expect to go to like a meeting, or like a formal or something like that, wearing ghetto clothes or something of that nature. Or basically, I'd never expect somebody on Congress to be coming in wearing like hip hop clothes or something of that nature. There has to be some type of like dress code or standards in many situations. That's just the way it is. But when you're out of it, like when you're in a comfortable casual situation, do what you want to do and everything. But eventually, I know, like I said, all this hair dyeing thing, like nobody's going to care eventually. I see it coming, but it's not the end of the world. It really isn't. As long as, the nasty or like, toxic attitudes that, the like cringy attitudes don't come with it there. You know who you are. So.
And you usually wear those awful glasses with the weird.
Oh, the Coke bottle frames. Yeah, it's just. Well, it's funny. I was watching a video when I was watching Paul Joseph Watson. He basically had a video of this guy who was showing how like boys in Great Britain dress now, and they got like super slim or skinny jeans, like holes in it. And I looked at the styles. It looked like you were like dressing in girls' clothing. Like it's
here, little boy, let's have you wear these distressed jeans.
Yeah.
You totally won't look like a
now,
girl.
if you'll excuse me, I need to oil my legs up to start fitting into my leather pants. And that's an old joke from the late 90s even. So, I mean, cultures and fashions and everything, these kind of like freaky fashions have always been around, but they're now just becoming the norm because basically people are, being more accepting of things that some things it's not a big deal, but other things, that can actually hurt people. Not saying like, like hair dye doesn't hurt people. Obviously, I do crack a joke though that it
can make your hair fall out if you don't do it right or get the wrong one.
I was more so going to say the hair dye seeps into your brain and basically causes you to become a victim. I'm looking at you, Monica Rial. But anyway,
yeah, I know, right?
when there's other things like we're supposed to accept pedophilia and things of that nature,
Yeah,
that's
that
where it's
hurts
kind of like you need to start reevaluating things there.
Yeah,
Now, before we close, I just want to say congrats to Baylor for their unbelievable stomping of Gonzaga. I had like I said, I've rooted for Gonzaga, but I said if there's one team in this country that I know can beat Gonzaga, it's Baylor, and I was right. And they really beat them. And when I saw that they were playing Houston, and I saw Mitchell and Butler hitting 3 after 3. I was like, wouldn't that be great, Pikachu, if that just transitioned over to the Gonzaga game, and then me and my big mouth. And then Gonzaga struggling with UCLA. I mean, Suggs' last second 3 was awesome. Don't get me wrong there, but let me just say that, oh man, it was a warning sign. I was even mentioning it too. I was like, yeah, Baylor didn't really, Arkansas was probably the most competitive team that Baylor fought in the tournament, but Gonzaga, Mark Few fell short again for a national championship, the poor bastard.
Yeah.
And speaking of falling short, which was very worse, Arizona women's team lost by 1 point. 1 point to Stanford. They played probably the most competitive game that I've seen them play all year when it was close. And Stanford clearly was the better team at the runs they went on, but Arizona's defense kept clawing back. Pellington just played her heart out. She's coming back next year. Sam Thomas is coming back for a 5th year. Now, Ari McDonald graduated, so it's going to be very tough to replace her, and she's honestly, in my opinion, National Play of the Year. She was just incredible. But, Pellington and Thomas are going to bring heart to the team next year. Now time to crack some jokes about women. So I'm going to congratulate Stanford and their 10 fans. Congratulations on the victory. The 10 Stanford fans are pleased compared to the 8 Arizona fans, and we're 2 of them. So now, if you don't get the joke, it's basically the joke that not many people watch. Women's basketball is irrelevant, which I honestly don't care until it's tournament time, and if Arizona or Notre Dame in it. And since Notre Dame sucks and Arizona's on the uprise, Notre Dame could get better later on, but Arizona happened to be on the uprise, and I didn't expect them to go to the national championship. So it was, they're going to be a force to be reckoned with, and Barnes extended her contract, but hey, congrats to the 18 fans that watched the game that night. Glad you got to witness a good game. We were happy to witness a good game, and it was competitive and came down to a last second shot that was poorly executed. Anyway,
and that really bad foul.
Yeah, that no call turnover.
Yeah,
that no call turnover was really bad too, where Arizona didn't
Those
touch it.
refs
Yeah.
are terrible.
Yeah, they fucked up Baylor, and they fucked up in the UConn game. They should all be fired.
Yes.
Anyway, I don't remember who it was. I really hope it wasn't Holly Rowe, because I've got mad props for her for fighting through cancer. But they were talking about Adia Barnes and her recent baby, congrats to her and everything. But they were talking about, she went into detail about breastfeeding, all that stuff. And if you guys think this is a problem, we need to normalize motherhood. No,
we don't.
no. I don't care. Do it on a woman's talk show. I don't care. This is basketball. I don't care if it's men's or women's. I guess we need to then normalize about shaving our pubes and men's. Do some more Manscaped ads or something like that. Where basically it's like, women love shaved balls. Or I don't know, basically like talk about the, obviously, being masculine. They're, the APA is even putting out that's basically that's basically terrible for society and everything.
I know what we should do. We need to have the announcers advertise those testosterone boosting ads.
Right, yeah, have them talk like, and I took this, like, this Mad Tea, I took it and everything, and I had sex with my wife, and hey, if you find that this offensive, we need to normalize talking about being able to bang our wives again because we're able to take this, Mad Tea and this Viagra, so fuck you, something like that, I mean, it's like an eye for an eye, Code of Hammurabi there, but then more so but here's the thing, now that we're trying to feminize men and everything, basically it's going to be like, they've already done that thing where it's like toxic masculinity a few years ago on ESPN where you had like that turnip head looking guy, talking about it, and he looked like a black Bert basically, so this Napa turnip headed guy, ugh. But, if we're really going to if we're talking about real man stuff, then yeah, we need to be able to normalize talking about shaving our balls, announcers talk about shaving their fucking balls to give their wife a better feel. We need to talk
being really sweaty.
Yeah, talk about being really sweaty, it's like, working out and just, getting all that, talking about like, for fixing automobiles or computers or things like that, real manly stuff. Even if it's nerd stuff, it's still manly, But of course, that's never going to happen because we can only accept, little, sexy, naughty, bitchy things, Tata Young. But anyway, but I was laughing so hard. I laughed so hard. And then the commercials where they're like, see what's going on? You got all these, like, what was it, like CEO women talking together and stuff. It's like, oh, okay, you can hold a higher position, it's like that's never ever happened in like the past 70 years or anything like that. Well, actually more so, I'm being generous, that never happened in the past 50 years or anything. No woman's ever been a CEO or vice president, even though I've had like 6 of them basically. But how many of them are non-white?
Yeah, Darth KH, remember?
yeah, she was black too, so there you go. Oh man, but yeah, no, I don't want to hear about that. But here's the thing, though. Let's be honest. Women's college basketball in the WNBA is meant for a lesbian fan base. Let's just be honest there. That's pretty much what it's meant for. And somebody even admitted that a few years ago on ESPN. I don't remember who said it exactly, but they're right. I'm proud to support my teams, whether it's men or women, if the sport interests me. And Arizona Notre Dame women's basketball, Arizona women's basketball starting to really, take that mantle. Hell of a lot better than the men's team, that's for sure.
Sadly,
but,
yes.
The men's team still has talent and stuff, and I'm still going to love them. But, well, unfortunately, college basketball is over, which means that from April all the way up to the end of August, I'm fucked on sports. I don't like baseball.
Be sad.
So, well, it's almost 11, so let's get to gaming. So, leave a comment if you dare. You're probably, I'm probably either going to agree or disagree with you, or I'll probably make fun of you. One or the other. Depends on my mood, basically.
The bad comments will be Pikachu uses Thunderbolts as a response.
If you agree, you agree. If you don't agree, you don't agree. It's no big deal. If you want to make fun of us, that's fine. It's these type of topics and everything, and these type of things they're saying. I get it. They're not popular, and nobody wants to hear it, and we're all over here we're a bunch of racist xylophone saxophones.
Don't call Pikachu cute, it's so offensive.
Don't call Pikachu blind, that's offensive. They need to
totally.
be sight impaired,
That sounds really stupid.
Extremely stupid, but there's so many sensitive namby-pambies out there. Alright, well, we're going to give Diablo 2 Medium XL a shot, so that'll be our next video, so, check it out if you want to. We've got a lot of great content on the site, obviously. If you don't want to listen to our discussions, check out our sports vids. You'll see, like, the brackets on it. You'll also just check out the other folders for, like, video games. Pikachu kicks ass on a lot of fighters, which we'll get her back into eventually. So, yeah, since I got a competent laptop, of course. But, yeah, we'll be playing on the desktop again, so you'll see more of this sexy Drayani on it. We already discussed that. So, in the meantime, this is Gray Fox 37, and it's now time to have fun.